All right, let's get started. Hi, everybody. I'm Grayson. I'm the COO here with PERRLA and the head of product and support. Welcome to our late spring office hours for 2025. I'm excited to be here tonight. Got a couple things we're going to talk about. Start off with this evening. Going to talk about some changes that are coming to priority support for PERRLA. For those of you who are priority support members, a new perk that you guys are going to get without anything changing. And then we're also going to talk about some of the recent features that we've released inside of PERRLA, how you can use those and use those to your benefit. And then I'm actually going to show you two things that we're working on, one of which is currently already deployed and available for you inside Microsoft Word, and another one that's a big one that we really are excited about for the upcoming fall semester that we're hoping to have in your hands for beta testing pretty soon. And then at the end, we'll also have time for just some Q&A. So without any further ado, let's dive in and let's get started. We're going to start off by talking about priority support, right? Priority support is a feature that you can add to your PERRLA account so that you can get help a little bit faster. You can sign up, and what it does is when you send our support team an email, right, at support@perrla.com, your email is going to go to the front of the line. You sort of get to skip the line, and you're going to get our fastest response from our team there while we're working. Well, we know that priority support needs a little extra sort of shot in the arm, a little extra boost. And so we're adding another new feature for our priority support members. And that's going to be a live office hours webinar, this kind of webinar, going on every Friday night at 8 p.m. Eastern time. So that starts at 5 p.m. Pacific. Okay, and it'll last for an entire hour, so from 8 to 9, from 5 to 6, every single week, where we're going to have live support people available on call to answer any questions that you may have. So you can always email us at support@perrla.com, and we're going to get you an answer really quickly. But if you want to sort of just talk it out with somebody, or you have a question, you want to get a demo of how to use a certain feature in PERRLA online, or you've got a question about an upcoming paper that you've got, you just want to sort of get some feedback on that, or you have a question about APA, MLA, or Turabian, using PERRLA, the writing process, sort of anything and everything, you can swing in and join our office hours webinar every Friday, and that's exclusive access only for our priority support members. So let me show you how you can get into that. So here I am inside of PERRLA Online, but I'm just going to go to my settings. You can do the same thing if you go to perrla.com and then you log in to your settings. Here, I'm going to go over to the account and billing tab, right? This has to do with my account, priority support. And there's a whole new section over here on the right for priority support, right? Congratulations, I'm a part of priority support with this account for Serena. And so she can join the office hours webinar. Well, it's not a Friday evening between 8 and 9 o'clock. And so it's not going to forward me into the Zoom call where we have our office hours webinars, but it's going to give me a intermediary page. We're just going to say, hey, don't worry, it's coming up. I told you every Friday at 8 p.m. Obviously, a link to contact our support team right now, so you don't have to wait. But you can also sign up for a reminder. So by clicking the green button, I open this just in a new tab, you can sign up. It gives us your name and your email address, and we're going to email you a reminder about an hour before the call that the office hours is going to happen. And it's only going to happen once. This is just an automated thing. Your email is not getting put into any new filters or new funnels. You're not going to be getting spam. We're going to email you once saying, hey, the office hours webinar is coming up. Here's your link to join. All right, and that's it. That's how you can join that from your account settings in the account and billing tab. So now all priority support members have access to jump to the front of the line when you have a question that you send to our support team, and you get access to our exclusive office hours live webinar every Friday night at 8 p.m. Cool. So that's changing. Let's talk about some of the other things that have changed inside of PERRLA. And we're going to stay inside of PERRLA Online for this because we're going to see how it works inside of Word here in just a little bit. We'll start off by going to our references panel. Now, this is a feature that I know we've had requested for a really long time, and we were really excited to be able to bring this in here. But as you may have seen using PERRLA, you now have the option to select references, and you can actually select multiple references here inside of your reference list. Let me make that just a little bit bigger so you can really see it. All right, so I can clear that. Anytime I select a reference, right, so I hover over it and I click the little check mark, little box over here on the left. Let's go right here so we're clear that selection. There we go. Now I had my reverse sorted, some of my older references in there. I can highlight these, right? And I can choose different ones. I can clear that selection. I can select all of my references, but whenever you have a reference selected, you have a couple of options. You can archive those references, meaning you're hiding them, or you can share selected references. We're going to talk about that one in just a second. If you want, you don't have any of your references, you can always show or hide these options from the very top here. You always have the select all option available. If you have something selected, it'll then give you the clear selection option and then show archived references. So if I click this, it's actually going to show me a list of the references that I've had in the past that I have archived already. You can see this one, I accidentally created a whole bunch, and so I don't need duplicates. So we can go back to our active references right here. Let's take this Coltman reference right here. I know that I actually have this one already. We'll say this Hurlburt, Watt, and the Iglesias reference. These 5 I used in a recent paper. It was a one-off paper. I don't want them in my library anymore. I don't need them in the space. You can always leave those references in your library. It's not going to cause any problems whatsoever. You can have as many references in your library as you want. They're always there. You can search for them. You don't have to clear them out every time. But some people do. They like to have a clean slate when they start off a new semester or they start a new program. Totally get that. So I'm going to select these couple of references, these 4, and I'm going to choose archive selected references, right? And we're going to make sure, are you sure you want to archive these? They won't show in your reference library anymore. However, they do remain in any of the papers, right? So if I use that Coltman reference in my last paper, it's not going to change that paper when I archive this reference. That reference is still going to be available inside of that paper. It's just not going to be present or visible in my reference library for other papers or moving forward. So I'm going to say, yep, let's archive these selected references. But it's going to take, it's going to archive those references, and then it's going to reload the page for us. And as you can see, those references are now gone. Now, if I go over to my archived references, here I can see, there it is. There's that Coltman reference. There was the Meldrum reference that we archived. We had an Iglesias reference that was in here from a while back. Anyways, instead of driving through the whole list, they're archived. They're in here. All right. So that's one way you can do it. If you want, you can archive all of your references. So if you want to select all, are you really sure you want to do this? Yes, I want to wipe out my reference library completely. You got to click that and then say, yes, archive all references. I'm not actually going to do that because I actually use a lot of these still, but you can archive your entire reference library in one go if you want to wipe it out. You can also always do that from inside of settings as well. So if we come over here again to app settings here, there's a new button here that's archive all references down here at the bottom. And that's going to ask the same thing. Yep, I want to wipe out my entire reference library in one go. All right. Inside of Microsoft Word, if I go over to my settings here, I do have, I don't have that option inside of settings here, but I'm going to show you where you can archive your references here inside of Word. And we're going to do that in just a second because that's going to go into a whole new feature that we've got. But anybody can access PERRLA online. Just log into PERRLA.com with your PERRLA account. All right. One thing to note here, actually, I think that's it for archiving references. So when you got a reference, you're done with it. You don't want to see it anymore. Select it, archive it. That's it. If you've accidentally archived a reference, that was the last thing. If, for instance, this Schrute and Meldrum reference, I actually didn't want to archive these, I can select them from inside of my archived references, right? And then I can restore those selected references. And it's going to take and it's going to remove them. It's going to sort of unarchive them. And there you can see they're back inside of my reference library as active references. Cool. That's how you can archive references. Another new feature that we're really excited about is the ability to share your reference with other PERRLA users, right? To be able to take and share those references with somebody else, maybe somebody else that you're working on a paper with or a fellow classmate, or if you're a professor and you have some references pre-built for your class that you know are just usually extremely troublesome, or it's a reference that you're going to be using throughout the entire course of the class, you can share that reference with the students that you have. So let's say I've got another account here for Stefan. Stefan Sparkles instead of Serena Sparkles here. And Serena needs to share a couple of references with Stefan because she has a project she's going to be working on with Stefan coming up next week, and she already has most of those references in her library already. And so she wants to share them with Stefan so that he can get a head start, and they have both of them available when they start working. So let's say that the Jones reference here, let's say toggle, we'll go with, this Farbo and Smith reference. And then let's see here. An audio podcast. This was a great one. Treisman. There was one here. And we'll go with this Lozier. So we've selected just a handful of references that we want to share with Stefan. Now, Stefan's email address is actually serena@perrla.com. But we're going to select those references. And then inside of our options up here at the top, I'm going to say share selected references. Okay. And here's where I need that email address. We have 7 references, share with these people. So we're going to actually share this with serena@perrla.com. Okay, I can add other email addresses if I wanted. Do I want to include research notes? Right, so you can add research notes. That's a function that you have inside of PERRLA to references. You can take and add like quotes or ideas or thoughts or text, anything that you want to a reference as a research note that you can then use and utilize inside of your papers while you're writing. So you get the option, do I want to include these research notes and share those with Stefan or not? I am going to include these because the notes that I took, I think Stefan's going to find really useful. I think I have notes on these references. And then I can type a message. I can say, hey, Stefan, these will be helpful for our upcoming class. Enjoy. Smiley face. Okay. Now I'm going to take and I'm going to share these references. Now, one thing to note is that when you share your references, it takes a snapshot of what that reference looks like in this moment. And that's what gets shared with Stefan in his PERRLA. If you then go and you change those references or you add new research notes to those references, Stefan is not going to get those changes because they happened after you shared that reference. And we do this for a couple of reasons. One, it makes things cleaner technologically behind the scenes. 2, it protects your privacy as well. You may have something inside of that reference that you're fine sharing with Stefan or another student right now, but you may want to put something into that reference in the future that you don't actually want to share with Stefan. That's yours and yours alone. Stefan would not get access to that. So it's making a snapshot of these references at the time that you share them, and it's sharing that snapshot of the references, not the references themselves. Okay, so any changes you make to these references moving forward don't automatically get passed on to Stefan. So that way, whatever you're doing with your library isn't just automatically pushed over to Stefan. You have your own private space. It's your references, your notes. They're yours to do with how you want. I hope that makes sense. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and say share my references. Perfect. 7 references have been shared. So let's go over to Stefan right here, and I'm just going to refresh this page. And as you can see, Stefan's going to get a new banner across the top of his page. It says, hey, new references were shared with you. Click here to add them to your reference library. So I'm going to say add to my reference library. So it looks like Serena has shared 7 of their references with you. If you add the references to your PERRLA account, we'll create a copy in your library so that you can use them in your own papers, right? This is another reference to, we create a snapshot of those references. You're not syncing that data back and forth. You're not seeing everything that Serena does with those references. We're going to make a copy of those references in that state into Stefan's PERRLA library. And Serena sent a message along with references. Hi, Stefan. These will be helpful for your upcoming class. Enjoy. Excellent. Fantastic. I'm going to say add references to my library. There we go. It's going to add the references to my library, and it's going to highlight them green for me right away. So in case I have hundreds of references already, it may be hard to know, like, oh gosh, when and where are those references in my library? We highlight them green so that way you know those were the ones that were added. And let's go into some of these and see, did I have any research notes on, I know one of these, I feel like I did. Maybe I didn't. We're going to find out. The toggle. Oop, boop, 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 boop. Okay, no. But you can open up and you can see those. And so now Stefan has these available inside of his paper. It's awesome. You can do this and you can share those references, right? So if I said, oh gosh, I forgot to share this with somebody else, great, I can put in a new email address up here. Not a problem at all. Now, what if Stefan said, like, actually, no, I don't. So let's actually try sharing this Shroot reference, right? Stefan or Serena at PERRLA.com. It's a bit of an oddness, but I've got two accounts. This one uses my personal. It doesn't matter. How about this reference? I'm going to share that with Stefan's account. Here, we're going to refresh the page. You can see Stefan once again has the references that he can add to his library. See, add references to my library. How about this reference? Actually, no, I talked to Serena about this after she had shared this. I don't need this reference in my library. So I'm going to say decline shared references. Cool, not a problem. We've declined those references. They did not get added to my library. But what if actually, no, you know what? I changed my mind. I do need that reference in my library. Well, fret not. I can come up here to my settings, and I can go over to app settings, right? I'm going to come down here to references. Let's say view shared reference invitations. Okay. Here I can see all the references that have been shared with me in the past and how what I decided to do with them, right? So here are 7 references shared by Serena. Excellent. That's great. These have already been added to my library. These right here. You get shared references. Here's that one reference I declined. I can choose to still decline it, right, in case I clicked by accident, or I can add it to my library. So I can say add references to my library. It's going to say, yep, great, this was accepted. So if I come back to my references panel here, you're now going to see that we should have, there it is, the Shroot reference right there at the top for Bears Beats and Battlestar Galactica. And that is how shared references work, which is really cool. Anybody can do this. You can share them with any other PERRLA account. You can also share them with people who don't have PERRLA accounts. So if you share your references with somebody we don't have a record of in our database, we're going to send them an email and tell them, say, hey, it looks like Serena shared some references with you. If you'd like to use them in PERRLA, click here and I'll let them create a free trial, all of their own. If they do end up getting PERRLA, it's always good to remember you do have a 3 free code, right? So if you have friends who are using PERRLA and you want them, you can share. Everybody has a unique 3 free code. If they purchase PERRLA, subscribe, and use that code at checkout, they get 3 months free added to their account, and you get 3 months for free added to your account. So it's a really cool program that you can find here inside of your settings. Okay, that's all very cool, and we've been doing this inside of PERRLA Online, but what about our Word users? What about them? Well, you can always log into PERRLA Online on a web browser, right? You have access to that, right? You can just go to PERRLA.com, right? And in the top right, you're going to say login and log into PERRLA Online. That'll log you in. If you log into my account, that's just going to take you to the settings that we were just looking at, which is right here. It'll just jump straight to this page instead of the whole dashboard. But what if you want to stay in Word, right? Well, fret not. We've got a new feature that we've added that doesn't exist yet inside of the Ribbon tab, but that is going to be coming to the Ribbon tab soon. So here I am inside of Microsoft Word, and I've got one of our infamous Sasquatch, The Truth Revealed papers. Okay, I can take, and if I have any of the PERRLA panels open, there's that little hamburger menu in the top right, where I can jump to the other different panels in case I don't have the ribbon bar available to me. We have a new one right here at the bottom, My Reference Library. I click this, and it's going to open up inside of a new window here instead of inside of the side panel, because we need a little more width, a little more space to pack all this information in. And here, what does this look like? This looks very much just like the references module over here. So here I can take and I can select these different references, and you see I have those same options available to me for selecting all, clearing my selection, archiving selected references, showing my archived references, and sharing those references with somebody else. So if I click share with my reference, here it is. I have 4 references. I can choose who I want to share. They don't have any research notes, and so I don't have to worry about checking that box. Say, actually, never mind. I can take and I can archive selected references. Yes, I'm sure. I can also see my archived references, right? So the ones that I have archived already in the past. select and clear all. I can also totally search, right, for across my references if I want to see my whole reference library. And I also have the ability to, here I'm got some more options here, copy to clipboard, right? That'll copy that text, that reference to my clipboard. And I can also switch, the format that the reference library is displayed in, right? So I could take and I could say, actually, I want to see this as a Turabian reference, right? I can take and do this. I can say copy to my clipboard right there. I can come down here into my paper, right? And I can paste it. You can see there, it's going to paste into our library. One thing, there's some more things that are going to be coming to this, just so you know. We are going to be adding the ability, right, to create new references inside of the reference library inside of Word, right? So we're going to get a big button up here where you can create those references on the fly. We're also going to be adding the ability to open these references up, so you're going to be able to gain access to each of these different tabs. So you'll be able to see the Papers tab, Citations, your Research tab, and then the Details, where you can edit that references data. You're going to be able to access all of that inside of the reference library soon. And we're going to be adding some more options over here on the right, so that if you are inside of like a PERRLA paper, I could take and I could have my reference library open and be able to say like, hey, go ahead and add this to this paper, or hey, if it's been added to the paper, go ahead and create a citation for this, so you can interact with your paper directly inside of the reference library as well. This is also super helpful for those of you who have like multi-monitor setups, right? You're going to be able to see this drag, you can drag that off onto another panel, and you have extra space. You can do this, you can have your full reference library available to you. So we're really working hard to make this more robust and make sure that our Word users have access to all the same features that our PERRLA Online users have as well. All right. So that is coming to Microsoft Word. It's going to be coming into the ribbon bar here later this year, okay, probably around late summer. We're going to be adding that in there with a couple other new things. But for now, you can access that inside of the hamburger menu here inside of Word. All right. One last thing, you can also access, this is really cool, right? So if you're not in a PERRLA paper, right? So this is just an empty document. If I try to open up my references and citations and say, hey, you need to be inside of a PERRLA paper first, right? If I go to my settings here for now, I get that hamburger menu. I can actually open up and access my reference library from inside of any paper, not just PERRLA papers like the other features. So I can see this entire thing. So I could take and copy that to my clipboard if I had a paper already that I was working on. I just need to throw one reference into it. I didn't want to have to recreate it. That is an option there. Okay, cool. Well, we have got one more thing to dive into and to show off here in our Office Hours webinar before we jump into Q&A. That is over here in a web browser. People have been asking for it for quite a while, but we are bringing PERRLA to the online web-based version of Microsoft Word. So we're bringing PERRLA into Word Online. Now, if you've already installed PERRLA, if you go into the Word Online, right, and you try to start interacting with it, it's going to say, hey, just so you know, PERRLA does not work with Word Online. And that's because we've been waiting for Microsoft to sort of polish Word Online up. The APIs and the back end behind Word Online just were not up to snuff for a long time. It was a new product. There was a lot of stuff that they had to build, and we were just waiting for them to get it built into a state where we could be able to do all the things that we do inside of a paper, to handle all the API formatting for you, so that way it can work correctly, and you're not having to do a whole bunch of sort of workarounds or things that aren't set up right. So Microsoft Word is there finally. There's like one or two tiny things that we're still waiting on them to do, but we decided it's worth it. We're going to go ahead and we're going to push forward and make sure that we get this into your hands. So here I have a test version of our PERRLA ribbon right here, where we're going to take and show you how this works and some of the cool stuff that you can do. So just like inside of PERRLA Online and our desktop Word add-in, you're going to have access to all the same functionality that you do inside of Word right here. See, I was listening to a little bit of instrumental music in the background as I prepared for this. I've got my toolbar across the top up here, and you're going to have access to all those same things here inside of Word Online. So let's start off by creating a research paper, right? Again, we'll do our famous Sasquatch, the truth revealed. This is going to, of course, let me reload this. This is how we do this when we're testing this. Upload, browse, WEF here, open. A little bit of behind the scenes stuff for you there. There we go. All right, I had to reload research paper. There we go. Now it's working. It's how you test things, folks. This is the way it works. Seeing it live in action. And this hits our test server. Our test server is muy pequeño, very small. And there it goes. It takes it just a little bit longer to get warmed up. Sasquatch, the truth revealed. Okay, I'm just going to leave this as a really simple title page and create research paper. Now, in Word Online, it's going to ask for 2 prompts, right? Because we create that paper from scratch, setting and injecting all the heading styles and text styles and formatting into the document from the very beginning. So what it's going to say is, hey, the add-in is about to create a new document in your default folder on your current cloud repository, which is your Microsoft OneDrive. So yes, we're making a new document. We know that we want to make a new document. That's totally fine. And it's going to ask again to make sure this add-in is about to display a new window. That's going to be the new paper, right? And so yes, we do want to see the new paper. Here it is. It's opened up and saved. And then this is popping up for now, but that's not going to happen later. Remember, testing. So I'm going to go ahead and give this file Sasquatch Truth Final Version 3. Here we have our title page, right? With the title page set up, we've got our page number correct up at the top. Here we've got the body, and just like all PERRLA papers, there is no reference page yet because we don't have any references. I'm going to put just a little bit of random text in here that PERRLA, when Word does not like to play with. So I'm going to go ahead and set that to paragraph style, right? Making sure that it's applied with the APA. There we go. So now I've got a little bit of text in the body that we can work with. Okay, let's start off and do the one thing that everybody has to do all the time, which is references and citations. Here I can see my references and citations panel, just like we see it inside of Word, just like we see it inside of PERRLA Online. I'm going to add a reference from my library, right? I've got, let's say, this Bigfoot reference. Ooh. Right here. Now, I chose this one. It is an interview. It's a personal communication, right? So it happens to be a reference inside of the paper, but it doesn't actually get shown on the reference list, right? It only shows up inside citations. So that's how we got that one. Coleman and Davis. Here is Cutler. And then let's also go back and do this Coleman. And you can see just like all the other PERRLA things, it's going to create that reference list for us, and it's going to keep it up to date, just like you would expect, right? Everything's going to be perfectly formatted right there. All right, let's add some citations in here. Just like in the desktop, I'm going to add a couple citations. We'll cite that personal communication, right? That direct interview I had with Bigfoot. So I'm going to create that citation right there, right? That's perfect. I can create a reference or a citation for page 54 maybe here. Casey et al. Let's make a merged citation, right? I'm citing two different works inside of one citation. So let's take and say this was from my personal communication and from Cavicchioli. Add citation. It's not a direct citation. Click that. Boom. There's going to add that for us in automatically. We can take as well, right? So we can add another one here for Coleman, section 4. Or let's say it's IV Roman 4. Don't worry about this. That just shows up because we're in testing mode. Right, there you go. So I can add all those citations. Those are going to work just like normal. You can also introduce research notes. Do I have research notes for any of these? Yes, I do. This Coleman reference right here. Excellent. Let's take, I'm going to add extra space there and say, all right, great. Here's a quote that I've got. I'm going to place my cursor where I want it. I'm going to click the plus icon. There it is. It's going to add that to my paper. I do need to make sure that that final punctuation gets to the very end. there. You can see now that gets marked as done. So all these things are going to be working and running just like you would expect. Abstract, I can add an abstract into the document. I'm not going to because I don't want to. I have all my text and heading styles that are available to me. So like, let's say this is historical encounters, right? I can take and I can apply a heading 1 text to that, or a heading 2 style text. It will be heading 1 correctly for the APA. Have that available to me. Insert figures and insert tables. We're going to be able to do that. Abstracts, tables of content, and appendices. We can handle all of those. And create a clean copy, right? You're going to be able to create a clean copy of this that doesn't have those content controls inside of the paper around those references and citations. But I've got this where it's like, great, this is a perfect paper. I need to submit this to my professor, right? Well, we're going to be able to create a clean copy just like we have and be able to download that. But we also can use words, create a copy right here, and download a copy, right? And we can download this. Yep. Are you sure you want to download this? Yeah, I'm making a copy of this from my cloud drive to my local computer, right? And then it's going to open up here, Sasquatch, the Truth Revealed. You see it does have those content controls in it so that I could pick up and I could start using this with the PERRLA add-in inside of Word if I wanted. But there it is, my perfectly formatted paper that I had an extra paragraph line break on. There we go. I can get rid of that. So that's on page 3. Just because I added some extra text in there. Looking great. Looking great. So we're really excited to bring PERRLA to Microsoft Word Online, which is going to make it a lot easier for students who only have the online version of Word to use PERRLA. You can do shared documents in this, right? So Word Online allows you to have multiple people inside of one paper. So if you've got a group paper that you're doing, this is going to be a great option for you. As well. So we're really excited about this. We're in the debugging and testing phase right now, going through making sure that stuff is working, that things are really nice and robust. But we're hoping to have this out in a beta in your hands to play around with this summer so that by the time that fall rolls around, we have got an awesome platform ready for you and ready to use. All right, everybody, that is it for our demo section of our Office Hours webinar tonight. I want to make sure I leave lots of time for people to ask questions. At this point, I will remind you, if you ever have questions that you got to ask, please reach out to our support team. We got an awesome customer support team that's available every day until 10 p.m. Central Time. That's 11 o'clock on the East Coast. Every single day of the week, Monday to Friday, that is 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. Central Time. On the weekends, it is 1 p.m. to 10 p.m., and they're going to get a response really quickly. If you don't hear something back, usually within 15, 20, 30 minutes, take and check your spam, because we're going to probably have written you back and your spam filter may have just caught up our response. But you can always reach out to our support team. If you're a party support member, you can also join our Office Hours webinar, which are happening every Friday now at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Central, 5 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Mountain as well. So for those of you who are watching the recording of this is where things are going to kind of wrap up for us. We're going to be done. But for those of you who have questions, we're going to hop now into Q&A. All right, let's get to it.